All right, so today we're going deep on P.T. Barnum.
The OG master of hype.
Yeah, using the 48 laws of power to break down how he grabbed attention.
Which is a skill we all need even today, right?
Totally. It's like a playbook not just about Barnum, but these timeless strategies to stand out.
And what's interesting is we think of him as spectacle, but his methods offer surprisingly relevant lessons on capturing and holding attention.
Exactly. And to kick things off, let's look at his early career. The book highlights this Reverend Avery incident in Annapolis.
Oh yeah, that's a wild one.
It's crazy. A prank that almost became a lynching, but it somehow boosted the circus's success.
So what's the lesson there for us? Well, this incident really highlights a core principle. All publicity is good publicity.
Especially when you're starting out.
Especially then. It gets people talking, generates buzz, makes you unforgettable.
So even negative attention can work in your favor.
Think about it. Any attention, even bad attention, puts you on the radar.
Yeah, I guess it does make you stand out.
It makes you stand out, especially when you're just starting to build a name for yourself.
It sparks curiosity, too.
Right. Like, who is this person? So how do you think this Reverend Avery thing ties into Barnum's later success?
Well, I think he took what he learned in Annapolis and applied it to the American Museum.
You got it.
Yeah.
He understood the power of sparking curiosity.
Creating that mystery.
Yes. He used all sorts of creative tactics to attract visitors.
Some might even say manipulative.
Oh, absolutely. But that's a whole other discussion.
For sure. Well, one that stands out to me is the bricklaying scheme.
Oh, classic Barnum.
Can you remind everyone what that was all about?
All right, picture this. Barnum hires a guy to walk a specific route, placing bricks on the sidewalk.
Just randomly.
At certain points, yeah. Then he picks them up on the way back.
No explanation?
Nope, no interaction. Just methodical bricklaying.
People must have been so confused.
Oh, they were. That was the whole point. That lack of explanation is what drew people in.
It created the mystery.
The mystery. They couldn't help but stop, stare, try to figure out what this guy was doing.
So instead of explaining, the mystery itself became the attraction.
You got it. And eventually, the man would enter the museum.
With a crowd of confused people following him.
You know it. Who then, of course, had to buy tickets to see what else was inside.
Talk about hacking human psychology.
Right. We're wired to understand things that don't make sense.
That's why we love puzzles and riddles and all that.
Exactly. And Barnum knew that the bricklaying scheme, it's a prime example of how creating a sense of mystery without overt explanation can be a powerful attention-grabbing tool.
It's not just about being flashy or loud.
No, it's about sparking that intrigue that makes people want to learn more.
Which is valuable for anyone today, honestly.
In today's world, yeah,
No.
totally. And then you have the free music campaign.
I love this one.
Tell me about it.
So he advertises these free concerts outside the museum, but then hires terrible musicians.
The worst.
Which seems counterproductive at first.
Right. It's like, why would you do that?
People would just be annoyed, right?
But that was the point. People assume the music's going to be good.
They'd be expecting a nice afternoon.
And they got the opposite. So desperate to escape the awful music, they flock into the museum.
He used the negative to drive traffic.
He did, turning a negative into a positive.
Reminds me of those so bad it's good movies we all secretly love.
Exactly. He was a master at that.
Okay, so we've got mystery, the unexpected, but Barnum also wasn't afraid to just straight up fabricate things, right?
Oh, yeah, he went there.
Like Joyce Heth and the Fiji Mermaid.
Prime examples.
What do you make of those exhibits?
They show his willingness to push boundaries, exploit that human fascination with the unknown.
With Joyce Heth, he claims she was 161 years old.
A former nurse to George Washington.
Obviously a complete lie.
A total fabrication.
Yeah.
And then there's the Fiji Mermaid, right?
Wasn't that just a monkey and a fish sewn together?
That's the one, but presented as this genuine mermaid, sparking debate all over.
I gotta admit, even knowing it was fake, I'd be curious to see it.
Of course. Because our fascination with the bizarre often overrides our logic.
Right. And Barnum understood that.
Even if people suspected a hoax, they still wanted to see for themselves.
So he tapped into that human desire for spectacle.
The thrill of being in on the secret.
Brilliant. Even if a little ethically questionable.
We can debate the ethics another time, but there's no denying his genius for understanding what makes people tick.
Okay, so what's the takeaway here? Do we all need to start creating hoaxes to get noticed?
Not necessarily. The key is to understand the principles behind these tactics. Think about how you can create a sense of mystery, play with expectations to make your work stand out.
Give people a reason to be curious.
Exactly. Spark that curiosity, leave them wanting more.
And maybe with a little less deception than Barnum.
Preferably. So we're back, diving deeper into the art of attention, with P.T. Barnum as our guide. Last time, we uncovered some of his most audacious tactics.
Like that bricklaying scheme and the free music campaign with the terrible musicians.
Oh yeah, those were good ones, right? Simple ideas, but they tapped into basic human psychology to draw a crowd.
It's amazing how effective they were. Makes you wonder what other tricks he had up his sleeve.
Well, Barnum wasn't just about spectacle. He also understood the power of mystery.
Oh, for sure. Like with Joyce Heth and the Fiji Mermaid.
Exactly. But those
Uh-huh.
were straight up fabrications, right?
Totally. So is there a way to cultivate that mystery without resorting to deception?
Absolutely. And a great example of this is Mata Hari,
The exotic dancer.
the one and only. She captivated Paris in the early 1900s.
Oh, yeah, she was legendary. A spy, too, right?
That's what they say. But much of what she presented about herself was actually, well, made up.
So not entirely truthful.
Not exactly. But she didn't need hoaxes like Barnum's mermaid. Her elaborate persona, the veils, the ever-shifting backstory, it was all crafted to create intrigue.
So a well-crafted persona, even if fictionalized, can be incredibly alluring.
Think about it. Mata Hari understood that mystery invites interpretation.
Makes people want to figure things out for themselves.
Yeah. Right. By keeping people guessing, she turned her audience into active participants.
They're constantly trying to decipher what's real, what's not.
It's like a puzzle you can't resist solving.
And that keeps them hooked.
Exactly. Think about the books, movies, brands you find captivating.
They always have that element of mystery, right? Something that makes you want more.
It's that age-old advice. Give them what they want, but not all at once.
Leave them wanting more.
Exactly. Leave space for the imagination to run wild.
So we've seen how Barnum and Mata Hari used mystery and spectacle to capture attention. But can you sustain that forever?
That's the question, isn't it? It brings us to another crucial part of Barnum's philosophy, the dangers of overexposure.
And the need for reinvention, right?
Exactly. Because if you become too predictable, if your act gets stale, people will move on.
So it's like a paradox. You need attention to succeed, but too much can be bad.
You need to stay ahead of the curve, keep your audience guessing.
Or let them think they've got you figured out.
That's where reinvention comes in. Look at Picasso. He constantly reinvented his style.
Throughout his whole career, yeah.
He knew to stay relevant, you got to keep pushing boundaries.
Like he was saying, I'm not letting you get bored with me.
Exactly. And that's a lesson for anyone in any field. Think about how you can bring a fresh perspective to your work, keep evolving.
Otherwise, you become stagnant.
You got it. Find that balance between staying true to your core values and adapting to the changing landscape.
It's about growth, not erasure.
Well said. Now, all this talk about attention and reinvention, it makes me wonder, are there times when it's better to avoid the spotlight?
To choose invisibility.
Exactly, because sometimes seeking attention at the wrong time or in the wrong way can backfire spectacularly.
Like picking your battles.
You got to know when to defer, avoid direct competition with those more powerful.
Do you have an example of that?
The story of Lola Montez, the dancer, and Queen Victoria is a classic cautionary tale.
Oh, I've heard of Lola Montez, but don't know much about her.
So she achieved notoriety in Europe, even became the mistress of King Ludwig of Bavaria.
Wow.
But her ambition led to her downfall when she tried to upstage Queen Victoria.
During a performance.
During Macbeth, in London, no less.
Bold move. What happened?
Lola arrived late, dressed extravagantly, deliberately stealing the spotlight.
The queen must not have been amused.
Not one bit. And from that moment on, Lola was ostracized from London society.
Her attempt to grab attention backfired.
Big time. It shows that challenging those in power, especially publicly and disrespectfully, can have serious consequences.
It's a good lesson, especially in competitive fields.
Mhm.
It's not always about being the loudest voice in the room.
Sometimes it's about knowing when to step back, observe, choose your moments strategically.
Read the room.
Exactly. Understand the power dynamics at play, make calculated decisions about when to shine and when to fade into the background.
This has been so insightful, but before we wrap up, something's been on my mind. We've talked about grabbing attention even through controversy and spectacle.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line between being memorable and being unethical. Where do we draw that line?
You're right. It's a crucial point. It's not enough to simply capture attention. It's about using it responsibly, ethically.
We have to think about the impact of our actions.
Make sure we're not exploiting or harming others in our quest for the spotlight.
So it's not just what we do, but how we do it.
Exactly. Align our actions with our values. Be mindful of the consequences.
It's making me really think about how I approach my own work. how I present myself.
That's what we want, to empower you to make conscious, ethical choices about how you capture and wield attention.
So we've talked about the dangers of overexposure, the importance of reinvention, being mindful of power dynamics. What other insights can we glean from Barnum's playbook?
So, picking up where we left off, in a world obsessed with image, how do we cultivate authenticity?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Especially after all this talk about Barnum and his, well, sometimes less than authentic tactics.
It seems almost counterintuitive to everything we've discussed about his methods.
Totally. Barnum was spectacle and illusion, but you're saying authenticity is what captures attention today.
It might sound contradictory, but think about it. Spectacle can grab you initially,
For sure, it's flashy.
but authenticity creates that lasting connection.
Okay, I see what you mean. But how do you cultivate that when everything's telling us to be someone we're not?
It starts with self-awareness.
Yeah.
Take some time to reflect on who you are, deep down,
Your values, right?
your values, your passions, those unique quirks that make you you.
Doesn't that kind of clash with the idea of reinvention we talked about?
It's not about becoming someone else, it's about growth.
Not erasure.
Exactly. Like a tree, roots keep you grounded,
Those are the values.
but your branches, they can grow and change, reaching for the light.
I like that analogy. So
Ah.
you can adapt without losing yourself.
Right. But I know it's still tough in a world that rewards surface-level stuff over genuine connection.
Yeah, it feels that way
So
sometimes.
here's the thing. People can spot fake a mile away.
Especially now with social media and everything.
Those curated feeds, they might look impressive.
They feel so.
Empty.
They lack that human element, that realness we connect with.
Totally. It's missing that spark.
True authenticity shines through because it's not afraid to show vulnerability,
Imperfections even?
even failures. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, quirks and all.
Those quirks are what make you interesting.
Relatable, memorable.
Makes me think about all the times I've tried to fit in, present this polished version of myself.
We all do it, trying to meet expectations.
But what if we embrace those parts that make us different?
It can be scary putting yourself out there like that.
What if people reject the real you?
It's a valid fear, but here's the thing. The right people will connect with your authenticity.
Those are the connections that matter, for sure.
And by being authentic, you're not just attracting the right people, but you're also giving yourself permission to be fully expressed.
That's freeing.
It is. It's powerful.
Makes me rethink how I approach relationships, work, everything.
It's a shift in perspective,
Yeah.
for sure. Instead of trying to impress, just be genuine. Let people see the real me.
It's about moving away from performing and focusing on real connection.
So, in a way, we're taking back control of our attention.
Love that. Instead of seeking external validation, we're cultivating it from within.
It's about owning your story, your values, your unique perspective, and sharing that with the world.
And doing it in a way that feels true to you.
This ties back to Barnum, too.
Yeah.
He was a showman, yes, but also a businessman who understood trust, relationships.
He knew success wasn't just about fleeting attention.
It's about building a reputation, integrity, delivering on promises.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for us regular folks?
The non-showmen and women navigating the world.
It means understanding that attention is a tool.
Powerful, but it's how we use it that matters.
We can manipulate, deceive, or we can connect, inspire, make a positive impact.
It's about that balance, standing out, but staying true to yourself.
You got it. Embracing spectacle and cultivating authenticity.
Its deep dive has been a wild ride,
We started with P.T. Barnum, the king of hype.
and ended up talking about genuine connection.
It's funny how that happens, right? It's a reminder that even the most outlandish figures can offer valuable lessons.
And that these principles of attention, when used thoughtfully, ethically, can help us achieve goals, build relationships, make a positive impact.
Absolutely. So a final thought for you, dear listener. In this world overflowing with distractions, how will you choose to capture and use the power of attention?
What's your unique story, and how will you share it authentically?
We would love to hear from you. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep shining your authentic light.